But let's go ahead. Let's get this sucker started with some power rankings. As week 2 is in the books, people are hurt. People are dropping off like flies, and it sucks. So why don't we do some power rankings? Hell yeah, if you're unfamiliar with the format, then let me introduce it to you. We're going to have 6 different tiers. At the bottom, I have bottom of the league. That's your worst of the worst. Above that, I have long shots. Teams that aren't good, but they could maybe create some upsets on their way. Maybe ruin the chances of some playoff caliber teams. Above that, my tier could be, but unlikely, teams that maybe could make a push for the playoffs, but relatively probably fall short. Above that, I have your playoff contenders, teams that are going to be vying until the last week or 2 of the season to get that playoff spot. Playoff caliber teams that are 99.9% to make the playoffs, in my opinion. And then your legit Super Bowl contenders. Let's go ahead, get into this. Of course, we got to start with the bottom. Of course, we got to start with the Carolina Panthers. They just benched Bryce Young. Things are bad in Carolina. I don't really want to harp on it. I feel bad for the Panthers. But Andy Dalton, let's see how the offense looks under Andy Dalton. Right above them, I'm going to have the New York Football Giants. They looked much better this week. They truly did. Danny Dimes had a good game. You actually got some rush from KT and Brian Burns. But at the end of the day, this team does feel kind of bad. So I'm going to have them here. But you know what? I'm going to put the Broncos. I'm going to put the Giants actually ahead of the Broncos. And I mean, it's real close between the Broncos and the Giants. But for the Broncos, nothing's going right offensively. The playmakers aren't making plays. The run game does not exist. You have good players on your offensive line not playing well. And then, of course, Bo Nix being a rookie and not playing well. It's just kind of unfortunate. So the Broncos are kind of in a bad place as well. I think we could all agree that they're all probably bottom of the league teams. To wrap up this bottom of the league tier, I'm going to put the Washington Commanders. I still think the Washington Commanders beat a bad team close. Let's call it what it is. Jaden Daniels, he's going to improve as the year goes on, and that's great. That's great. Brian Robinson looks like the lead back there, and he's playing great. He had over 130 yards on the ground. The defense is still going to be a work in progress. Well, they played well against the Giants. Aren't you supposed to be talking this team up? We're going to pretend like the Giants are the standard when it comes to is my defense good or not? Come on, man. Miss me with that. So, yeah, I'm going to keep them here. Well, of course, we will change this as the year goes on. Maybe they bump up the list a little bit. Everybody loves the NFL draft, and I know you want to be familiar with every potential prospect that your team may draft. So I got good news for you. My draft guide is available for purchase. It is good throughout the entire draft cycle, and it updates through the season regularly. You'll get my current evals and rankings on hundreds of different players with player backgrounds and analytics. It also contains combine and pro day numbers, as well as my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. You can purchase it for a one-time payment of $30 on PayPal, Venmo, and now I have the Cash App. Follow the link in the description and be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. That is how I share it with you. So please don't make me hunt down your email. Just don't do it. Anywho, it's a great purchase and it's a great way to support the channel. We're going to go to these long shots, talk about these teams that are unlikely, very unlikely. I am 95% positive that they're not making the playoffs, but maybe they could play spoiler to some teams that have playoff ambition. And we're going to start with the Los Angeles Rams. A lot of this has to do with injury. For one, Matthew Stafford didn't have a lot of guys healthy blocking for him, and now he doesn't. He's missing his two 3 top weapons if you want to include Tyler Higbee. It's rough. It's rough, guys. And Trey White, not good. He's not good. He got annihilated this past week. He has not been good this year. He's been a detriment to this defense. The Rams are in a bad spot. They're in a bad spot. Right above them, I'm going to have the New England Patriots. Listen, man, I don't think this is a playoff caliber team. I don't think they even have a shot at the playoffs. But this is a squad that could definitely play spoiler. They can win some games. They can definitely win some games. Like you beat the Bengals week 1. Granted, the Bengals don't show up in week 1, but you beat them nonetheless. You take the Seahawks to overtime. Like, hell yeah, this Patriots team is playing tough. It's playing hard. And you know what? I can't wait to see Drake May at some point this year for the squad. But let's call it what it is. This is a team that is just not there yet. And honestly, they're probably going to be a hell of a lot better next year. But there's a lot of encouragement if you are a Patriots fan. Like, dude, Keon White having the big game. Hell yeah, you love to see it. Right above the Patriots, I'm going to have the Mayo Man. I'm going to have freaking Will Levis and the Titans. Will Levis, he can't help just making a unexcusable, terribly bad play. This week, he trips over his own feet, jumps over his left tackle, throws the ball backwards to his running back, and throws the ball backwards and short, which leads to a fumble in the red zone that creates a turnover. Golly. That just makes me sad. That makes me stinking sad. It just does. The Titans defense is playing good football unless it's like Kenneth Murray, which, hey, why isn't Gibbons starting? I think Gibbons is the better player. To be fair, I'm just kind of out on, did I say Kyler Murray? Kenneth Murray. There we go. I'm just out on Kenneth Murray as a starter at this juncture. If I'm gonna be honest, and I am. So yeah, I got the Titans right here as long shots. I think they're gonna play some teams tough though. And you could say the same thing about the Chicago Bears. That defense is freaking phenomenal, but the offense has a lot of problems and a lot of things they got to figure out. Whether it's, hey, the offensive line, they don't play so good. They don't play so good. What's wrong with our offensive line? And then Caleb Williams kind of has Caleb, you need the game to slow down for you a bit, bud. And it doesn't help that you're under pressure a lot, that you can't even run the football. There's like a lot of things going on with this offense that's just not working. You had Rome Odunze drop a touchdown pass. Would have been freaking Caleb's first of the year. You would have loved to see it, but it kind of is what it is. He dropped it. He's typically better than that. But yeah, this offense is going to iron out the wrinkles as the year goes on, but the defense is playing really good freaking football. Really good football. All right, let's move up to this could, but unlikely to make the playoffs tier, where I'm going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. Hey, we just smashed the Rams. Dude, wait, have you heard the saying? Just beating a dead horse? The Rams were that dead horse. Let's not hey, very encouraging win, but let's not pretend like the Rams are a viable team right now, because they're not. They're not. Defensively, yeah, what are you taking away from this game? Hey, our defense looks pretty feisty and good. The Rams are in utter chaos. They're missing their top 2 weapons. Cooper Kupp getting hurt this game. You have the offensive line in shambles. So you don't have guys getting open for Matthew Stafford. You don't have guys blocking for Matthew Stafford. Let's not act like the Cardinals defense is good. It's not. But that offense, though, Kyler Murray, he's cooking. James Conner, you are cooking. Marvin Harrison, you have arrived. Nice to see. I think this is a team that's going to play spoiler, and man, there might be a shot that they're competitive down the stretch, that they actually are going to be in the playoff race. So I'm not going to sleep on the Cardinals. Like, I'm not going to sleep on the Raiders. Huge win this weekend. Minshew Mania's going nuts. You beat the Ravens. That's huge. This team still can't run the football worth crap, but it didn't matter because Minshew was like, well, I got Devontae Adams. I have rookie Brock Bowers. I'm just going to throw it to those guys. And he did. He did so well. The Raider defense looked pretty darn good this week as well, being able to mitigate and just kind of force the Ravens to get stagnant. So, like, hey, man, it may not feel great, but the Raiders are playing foosball. But you gotta love it. You gotta love it. All right, above the Raiders, I'm gonna have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're legitimately just trending in the wrong direction. Matter of fact, they could end up falling behind both these squads. Like Trevor Lawrence, it's not like he looked great, but he didn't look bad in this game. The blocking's still kind of meh. He had more drops from his receivers. So that offense is struggling with some of the same problems that it had last year. And it's just unfortunate. They end up losing a close game here to the Browns, where both teams, you could argue, looked evenly matched, but just felt like the Browns had control of this game basically the whole way, that the Jaguars were just playing to stay in it and to catch up. And like, I don't know, man, it just doesn't feel like anything's really succeeding in Jacksonville right now. Right above Jacksonville, technically this is going to be spot 21, and it's going to be your freaking 2-0 Minnesota Vikings. This was a great win. I'm sorry if I have a hard time believing Sam Darnold's going to be him for the rest of the year. But this last Sunday was a big step in the way of, he might be. This Minnesota team might end up being playoff contenders. And that defense, dude, Brian Flores has this team playing nutty. Like, Blake Cashman, freaking monster. 3 pass breakups. Had the one of those pass breakups led to the interception by Josh Metlis. You had everyone and their mom just being able to get home and get pressure. Pat Jones, who I thought was just, I remember when he was coming out of Pittsburgh, I was like, I don't think he's all that. I'm not a fan of his. He's showing up and looking good. It's like, that's why you take shots sometimes on guys on day 3. Sometimes they work out. Dude, Vikings, they're going to be hot movers up the board if this continues, if this keeps up. Right ahead of them, I got the Chargers. They are now 2-0. Things are in murky waters right now with Justin Herbert's injury. And I know some people will be like, well, this is a run-first team. Yeah, but when you have to pass, I would prefer that being Justin Herbert and not whoever the backup quarterback is. Is it still Easton Stick? Is it someone different? I can look that up real quick. But yeah, you got to love how this team is playing, whether it's the run game or even defensively. I know it was the Panthers, but still, you feel much more encouraged about the defense than you were last year with this squad. But yeah, Justin Herbert, that's going to be kind of a big deal. It is, in fact, he's Easton Stick. Oh, they got Heineke there, too. I think I'd rather Heineke be the backup than Stick, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, because he was suffering from the Liz Frank during the summer. Kind of re-aggravated the right ankle, right leg, right foot. They weren't specific, but played through it during the game. X-rays came back negative. So again, you're kind of hoping the best from Justin Herbert. By the way, Quentin Johnston, 2 tutties. Love to see it. All right, last team in this could be but unlikely tier is going to be the Cleveland Browns. Listen, this defense is so great. They're banged up, but so great. Like, if you don't know what I mean, let's take a gander at some of the names that weren't playing this week for the Cleveland Browns defensively. We could talk offensively as well, as they're still missing their starting tackles and David Njoku. But this week, you don't have Juan Thornhill because of a calf injury. Maurice Hurst is on IR with an ankle injury. And I believe, Mike Hall is still on the commissioner's exempt list because he sounds like he's kind of a douchebag. But they're still playing hella good. I get it. Myles Garrett, he's kind of that guy. He's kind of that guy. But more importantly, the offense was able to run the football well, and Deshaun Watson didn't put the ball in harm's way. So at this point, it's just, I guess you're just kind of hoping for a game manager, Deshaun Watson, which doesn't really lead to too much excitement, as it's just not what it was last year with Joe Flacco. I miss Joe. I miss you, Joe. Did you know if you go to Underdog Fantasy and sign up with promo code BROSHMO, they will match your first deposit up to $250? You did? Well, I'm glad I told you, because Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play weekly best ball, or my favorite, higher or lower on player props, and they already got props out for week 3 of the NFL. So get in on the action with Underdog Fantasy. Go there, sign up using promo code BROSHMO, and of course, my friends, bet responsibly and bet within your means. Playoff contenders. Let's go ahead, get into these playoff contenders, starting with the Seattle Seahawks, some way, somehow. Kenneth Walker, he's going to be back healthy, hopefully sooner rather than later, because the run game just wasn't the same. To be fair, the interior offensive line kind of had a rough day. Keon White kind of just ate. But Geno slung the football. You had DK and JSN just pop off. The defense is hella good. Fun fact, they are. Hopefully some of the guys that left the game injured, like Boye Mafe, hopefully those aren't long-term injuries. Hopefully they're just kind of day-to-day. But yeah, the Seahawks, I think, currently lead the the NFC West. So let's get it. Ahead of them, I'm going to have my Miami Dolphins. A lot of this just is, there's too many questions. Like, you know what? I'm going to actually put the Seahawks ahead of the Dolphins. And I'm doing this as a Dolphins fan. It hurts. Listen, there's too many questions when it comes to the Dolphins. In terms of, like, well, for one, you got a couple of guys out hurt, or guys that are still thriving to get back healthy. The offensive line isn't playing great, or at least it didn't in week 2. Now you have Terran Armstead dealing with a shoulder injury. Obviously, the whole thing with Tua. When is he going to be back? What's the timetable look like? There's too many unknowns. You're just unsure about it, and it sucks. I'm a big Dolphins fan, and I'm just wishing the best for not just the organization, but for Tua and his family. So fins up. We got your back, Tua, regardless of what you end up doing. Let's go ahead and get it. Who's next? We're gonna put the Colts up here. They're, after a very encouraging game week 1 and a shootout with the Houston Texans, they come out and lose to Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers. The offense just wasn't good this game for the Colts. They stopped running the football in the fourth quarter because it was a negative game script. They were down by a couple of scores. So the one thing that was working for them offensively, they moved away from in the fourth quarter. So, okay. Gus Bradley is a middle-of-the-road defensive coordinator, and I say middle-of-the-road. He's an average defensive coordinator, above average. Like, he's solid. He's fine. The run defense sucked. Got gashed. The Packers should have won by multiple scores, as you got lucky with, I think it was Zaire Franklin that ended up popping out Josh Jacobs' would-be touchdown. So big play there, but ultimately, I don't know, man. This might be one of the, I don't know. There's a lot of good 0-2 teams right now, seemingly, and we're going to talk about them a little bit later. All right, ahead of them, I'm going to put the Atlanta Falcons after a big win. Feels like they should probably be a little bit higher. But let's see another week of the Falcons just kind of playing their game, right? As Kirk Cousins came out, looked comfortable. The run game was thriving. The offensive line played a good game in general. And Jesse Bates is him. He is the best safety in football. What can I say? They were able to go into Philly and win by 1 score. You love to see it. So maybe that week 1 game just wasn't the best game to debut. Not just Kirk Cousins, but also Zach Robinson in this offense. Maybe facing the Steelers just wasn't the best way to debut. But a lot of encouraging signs this week from the Falcons. Ahead of the Falcons, of course, I got to have the team that beat the Falcons. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know, man. This defense is great, but I think if you face enough good teams, that offense just isn't going to be enough. Like, Fields is keeping the ball out of harm's way, but he's also, it does not pretend like he's been perfect, but he's a good fit for Arthur Smith's system. I just don't think there's gonna be games where the offense just can't score, the defense gets gassed, and the Steelers just won't be able to do anything. I just truthfully believe that right now as it stands. Right ahead of them, I'm going to put the Dallas Cowboys. Not a great showing from the Cowboys this week, unfortunately. Not a great showing. But I believe in this team to turn around. I think the defense is still pretty good after being gashed, after being annihilated by Alvin Kamara and Rashid Shaheed. I believe that this offense is still good. Yeah, Dak is kind of being careless with the football here and there. He's just out there slinging, but I feel like this offense will clean it up. I feel like the Cowboys will clean things up sooner rather than later. And then I do have one last team in this tier, and it is the New York Jets. I guess sorry, not sorry. I don't know how to feel about this defense. They don't feel like the defense from last year. But be encouraged that the offense looked so much better. Aaron Rodgers played another good game. Didn't get hurt. The run game appeared mainly because the offensive line played a good game. So hopefully this is a sign of things to come. Unfortunately, they do lose Jermaine Johnson in this game. So you got to wonder, do they work out something with Hassan Reddick? Now let's move to this playoff caliber tier where we're talking about teams that are 98.9% to make the playoffs. Let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals. This is one of the best 0-2 teams in the league. What can I say? Listen, I think the Bengals, they showed up. They played the Kansas City Chiefs exceptionally well. And I think they're only going to get better as the year goes on, as they get healthier, and particularly that defensive line, who they've been missing Miles Murphy and Chris Jenkins. They had Sheldon Rankins, unfortunately, leave this past game, and you're kind of hoping everything's okay with him. So they're going to get healthier. T. Higgins is going to eventually come back. So, this was a good game, even if you ended up losing it. On a potential bullcrap pass interference. Again, controversial, which is apparently a tough word for me to say. Controversial, but I could have saw it going either way. Next, I got the Baltimore Ravens, another really good 2-0 team, or 0-2 team, which is kind of wild because the 2-0 Steelers I have down here. Well, I'm sorry, these power rankings don't adjust based on the week. I'm trying to anticipate the whole season. And listen, if you're good long enough, you're gonna move up the list. So Steelers fans, don't fret. Don't fret. It's just going into the year. I expected the Ravens and the Bengals to be playoff caliber teams. And to be fair, the Ravens and the Bengals have had a bad loss and a loss to the Chiefs. So, okay, I think they're going to turn things around. I just think they are. And if they don't, I'll just move them down the list. All right, just follow me week by week. How about that? All right, we got the AFC or the NFC South making its presence known here. We're gonna talk about both these teams. So I think I'm gonna go with the Saints in first because I don't think I could any longer say that the Saints are just mid because Clint Kubiak got this offense rolling. This offensive line looks good, much better. I anticipated the offensive line to be pee poo poo, and they're playing good football. Hopefully, they could keep that up through the rest of the season. You got Derek Carr, not being careless with the football, playing within the offense, and hitting some deep plays to Rashid Shaheed. But more importantly, you already know this is a good defense. And they play good football. So when your offense is able to get out to leads like that, it takes a lot of pressure off the defense. And we're like, yeah, we just got to force a couple of stops. Our offense is getting it done. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there isn't, like, dare I say, Baker might be on par with Gardner Minshew in terms of the swaggiest QBs in all of football. Dare I say, let Baker bake. Baker didn't have a great game, but golly, dude, he grinded his teeth. It was like, let's win this ball game, boys. Ended up having a big throw to Chris Godwin, had some big pickups on the ground, and keep in mind, Justin Skoll was playing right tackle for Luke Godecki, who was in concussion protocol earlier in the week. The defense played well. Zion McCullum kind of had his coming out party. This was a hell of a game by him. Hell of a game. Yeah, Diaby played well. Vita Vea played well. Injured himself. Hopefully it's nothing serious. Doesn't sound like it is. But, dude, watch out, man. I'm a little hesitant to put either of those teams into Super Bowl contenders. But you win enough games, and it's with an NFC that's just kind of wide open. So let's be honest, the NFC, it is indeed wide open. You're going to have a lot of teams that might end up being legit Super Bowl contenders. All right, I got ahead of them, I'm going to have the Packers. They got their first win of the season with Malik Willis at quarterback. The game plan was great. Matt LaFleur and company did a hell of a good job. And honestly, you get one more win while waiting for Jordan Love to come back healthy, you probably feel good about your chances of making a playoff run. You probably feel good. So good on the Packers. Big win against the Colts. Last team I have in this tier. Honestly, I'm going to put the Buffalo Bills. You could honestly put them in probably Super Bowl contender tier. But I don't know, man. I'm just not on board yet with this squad. I'm just not on board yet completely. James Cook is the biggest cog in that offense. Be like, well, what about Josh Allen? No, yeah, Josh Allen, he goes out there and plays his game. Don't get me wrong. But, like, James Cook is a playmaker there. Like, whether it's in the run game or in the passing game. Like, Joe Brady relies on this offense to basically, it goes around James Cook and your ability to, like, just make him a threat consistently, whether it's the passing game or the running game. Josh Allen has done a fairly good job spreading the ball out. You never know who's going to be the weapon that week in the passing game for the Bills. Like this past week against the Dolphins, it was Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid. The week prior, you kind of had this massive split between like guys like Keon Coleman and such. So, like, yeah, the Bills are probably going to be Super Bowl contenders. They're just playing really good football. Defense included. Like, let's give a little love to, like, I think his name's Jamarcus Ingram, who's stepping in for the injured Taron Johnson and ends up with 2 picks, one being a pick 6 against the Dolphins. Stepping up and playing hella good football from the slot. All right, let's get to the Super Bowl contenders. That's right, I still got the Eagles up there. I think from a talent standpoint, this roster is incredibly talented. I just do. You end up having a bad loss to the Falcons. Yeah, that sucks. You probably should have went for it on 4th down. To be fair, Saquon probably should have caught it on 3rd down. It is what it is. It is what it is. Still, from a talent standpoint, keep in mind this team was without A.J. Brown last night. So, from talent standpoint, this is still one of the most gifted rosters. I think I gotta include them in the Super Bowl contender tier until otherwise. Maybe they go on a massive losing streak. I don't know. We'll see. Right ahead of them, I'm gonna have the Houston Texans, man. I think the Texans maybe just play to their opponents. I don't think that's fair. They had a big blowout last year in the playoffs against the Browns, so I don't think that's fair to say. But the defense played really well, even when the offense isn't necessarily clicking. Like the run game wasn't that good for the Texans on Sunday night. Passing game though was able to make some big plays, but let's not act like they were pouring on points. They weren't. But the defense won the game for the Texans. They put immense pressure on Caleb Williams and that offensive line, and just Caleb Williams was uncomfortable the whole night and was forced into some bad interceptions. And you were doing it with not just studs, but blitzing. They were dipping into the bag here. D'Amico Ryan was dipping into the bag. This is a Super Bowl caliber team. What can I say? What can I say? They deserve to be here from the get-go. Next, I got the Detroit Lions. Tough loss on against the Bucs there, but the Bucs are a good football team. Last year, I think you beat them twice. I believe so. Or maybe am I thinking of the Eagles, who didn't beat them twice, but beat them the first time. Regardless, you beat them you beat the Bucs in Detroit in the playoffs. Bucs kind of came into Detroit and played a revenge game, but this game could have gone either way. Like, this was a great game. Jared Goff, you're still kind of waiting for him to be like, I know he threw for a ton of yards, but like, there wasn't a lot of big plays from him as a passer. It was kind of like relying on his pass catchers and such, but you want him to clean up some of the errant passes. And he will. He's a good quarterback. The defense, you're hoping Terrion Arnold, he's going through his rookie bumps and lumps. He'll be fine in the long run, I think. But it was kind of a rough week at the office. Chris Godwin made sure of that. Aiden Hutchinson was out there doing it by himself. Marcus Davenport was down with a groin injury. So better things are to come. This is still a hella good Detroit Lions team. With that being said, right above Lions, I'm going to have the Niners. I'm sorry. Maybe their kryptonite is just playing the Vikings in Minneapolis. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just Brian Flores. But regardless, there's going to be no Christian McCaffrey for I don't know how long. There's going to be no Deebo Samuel with he's out with the calf injury for the next couple of weeks. So, like, are you worried? Nah, not particularly, because Brandon Ayuk, you just paid him. He's a hell of a good receiver. Offensive line had an off day. Along with the offense, it'll be better moving forward. And the defense is still hella good. Like, Fred Warner almost basically kept the Niners in this game single-handedly. He had 2 forced fumbles and an interception. The guy was another monster, and he still have Nick Bosa. Yeah, sorry, I still just believe in the Niners until they prove otherwise. And then, of course, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, of course, you got to have them number one. They're going for the three-peat. The refs may or may not have the Chiefs back. I know Chiefs fans aren't going to like hearing that, but hey, it's kind of funny. What can I say? Isaiah Pacheco going down kind of sucks. Kind of sucks big time. Patrick Mahomes kind of been errant with the football. He had 3 turnover-worthy plays in this game. But he's still Patrick Mahomes and still can make big plays when you need him to. And on top of that, fun fact, Spag, hella good. Defense out here doing its thing, just winning ball games here for the Chiefs. Ended up having the fumble 6. Chris Jones, he's a monster. Leo Chenal, he's a monster. That dude had a nice little goal line stop on Joe Burrow. I don't think it amounted in a. I think they still ended up scoring eventually, but it was on like I think it was the 4th down Yoshivas touchdown. Don't quote me, but yeah, no. Listen, the Chiefs are your reigning Super Bowl champions. They're 2-0. They start the year with good wins against good teams like the Ravens and the Bengals now. So great for the Chiefs. They're number 1. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you want more NFL or draft content, I got all kinds of content on the channel for you. You just got to go take a peek. For instance, maybe check out my most recent mock draft. I'll leave that in the end card. But until next time, be easy, my friends. Later.